People who made an impulse decision when they found out Hawaii was going to be nuked. What did you do and do you regret it? This didn't happen to me, but my friend, who is currently visiting his grandfather on the Big Island, told me that right after he received the first alert to seek immediate shelter, he went down a couple homes to where the Clintons were staying to ask the Secret Service guys what was going on. Apparently, they were all in gas masks and ready to go. My friend, before receiving the false alarm alert, said he made a mimosa, said goodbye to his family, and planned to go sit on the beach to watch, as he described it, the fireworks. Edit, grammar, edit 2. Thank you for the gold, stranger. I'll let my friend know the love he's getting for his story. I live pretty close to town center, so for me I looked at my girlfriend and said I love you and I hope it's fast. Sat in bed with her looking at pictures of our trip we took to Big Island and just was with her. The weirdest part is basically just living today. Yesterday I fully accepted I was gonna die, so it's weird for having to just live with the idea that I didn't. We made lots of jokes at work last night that a lot of children will probably be born in 9 months. Baby boomers lol. Around the time of the warning I was playing Call of Duty Zombies. I got the text and immediately texted my off-island family. I then texted our on-island family to let them know I had the 95-year-old family matriarch sleeping happily on my couch. Once I notified everyone as to our whereabouts, then I gently woke her up and apprised her of the situation. She asked a few questions and then sat back and thought a bit. After a short while she said we should make coffee because the power will be out soon. I made her coffee and continued to take phone calls and texts while just kinda hanging out with my grandmother. She survived Pearl Harbor and didn't seem overly concerned, and I saw no reason to worry her. I'd like to say I chugged my special occasion booze, smoked my most expensive cigar, did rails of coke off a stripper, but none of that mattered. I was right where I wanted to be. She raised me and we would be able to easily find each other if there is a next life. When we got the all clear sign, she demanded pancakes. The picture I took of her eating pancakes while I enjoyed the beautiful, sunny, apocalypse-free morning will always be my favorite. Edit. Here she is, enjoying pancakes with a ton of butter while I enjoy her. All I regret is filling my emergency water containers right behind the car, so now I'm blocked in the garage by 150 gallons of water. I think the good answers will be in a few years, when the ones who actually made life-altering decisions will leave their bunkers. My 70-year-old dad ate 2 loaves of bread while hiding in his closet. He said he only regrets it because he has to buy more bread now. Late to respond here, but I'll throw mine in. I work at a huge tourist location on Oahu. Pretty quickly after the alert went out, we started herding all of our guests into large buses and moving them to a huge World War II bunker we have on property. In the middle of directing guests on where to go, I realized I hadn't clocked in yet, and decided that if I was going to die in a thermonuclear detonation, I might as well be getting paid for it. I clocked in, then hopped a small bus with a few of my friends' workmates and headed toward the bunker. Once we got there, we decided that we really didn't want to die in concrete caves surrounded by people we really didn't like. So we just kept driving to the other side of the property and hung out in the back of a big ass valley for a few hours. So, I guess the impulsive thing I did was purposely avoid shelter and instead go somewhere beautiful. I woke up to people calling me about the alert, looked at my phone and read the message. I started searching the internet for answers, and there was zero coverage, which made me even more scared because I thought it was some kind of government conspiracy to not let the rest of the world know what was happening. I go to the Hawaii subreddit and everyone is saying they got the alert, but no info on whether the threat is real. Thinking about my life, I started to feel content with my inevitable death. Then I imagined my last moments slowly burning in intense pain. That thought was followed by a minor anxiety attack and involuntary shaking for the next 30 minutes. Hawaii resident here. While I didn't make the impulse decision, the people around me did. I was sleeping when the announcement came out, and the others in my house didn't decide to wake me up. They said if I was gonna die, might as well let me die in my sleep. Edit. We all became tired of the news after 2 hours. Just became annoying. Saw this yesterday. Likely bullet but funny nonetheless. I got drunk for the first time in 4 years of sobriety. Oops. I ate all the leftover lasagna in my fridge. I figured that if it's about to hit the fan, I better carb TF up. BTW. Living on Big Island. I was at work here on Maui. My wife was at home with the kids and I called them to calm them down. Once I realized they were all together, I went to the 3rd floor of a building with some co-workers and waited for the big bang or whatever was to come. I told my big Samoan boss that we should just hug. This way they would find us frozen in time like the folks they found in Pompeii after Mount Vesuvius. Things were a little awkward the rest of the day. Personally, I slept through it. I woke up to the second lol NVM alert. Oh, my dad was down at the beach taking pictures, and he told me later that he fully intended to just stay there and hang out. My mum had thought her phone had a virus, so she didn't do anything. Rolled out of bed and told my boyfriend, well, how about I make us one last cup of coffee before we die, then proceeded to the kitchen to brew a small pot. All I wanted was one last time to do one of my favorite things. Sit and talk stories with him with coffee and cigarettes in the morning. Maybe it wasn't so impulsive, but there was something about it being the last time to ever do that. My dad lives in Molokai, pop of 8,000 or so. I called him when I heard about it, asked him about it. He said 1. He didn't think it was real anyway. 2. A nuke from NK would be small and aimed at one of the population centers, Oahu, Maui, Big Island, and would not kill him. And 3. If 1 and 2 were wrong, he couldn't do much to stop it. He just had breakfast on the lanai like usual. Edit. For all you mainlanders, a lanai is a deck and lanai is another island. Went to Honokohua to dive. Figured 100 feet underwater was as good a place as any. Oh boom. Imagine if there was an actual emergency in Hawaii in the near future. Public trust has got to be at a minimum. Used NFL content without its express written consent. I made an impulse decision to stay in bed with my wife. Nowhere to go for safety. No time to get there anyway. Might as well be comfortable in my bed with someone I love. Got up from the breakfast table. My wife and 2 kids were with me. Ran out the door. Awkward coming home later that day. My uncle and his family live in Hawaii. He's been cheating on his wife for 2 years. We all found out about it in a mass text he sent 5 minutes after the emergency text went out. He too wanted clear the air before he died. I felt like this alert showed me that I can keep calm and that I'm a bit apathetic towards death. And I'm pretty proud of myself. I had no idea what to do, so I got freaky with my wife while smearing birthday cake all over her body. I had to get a plan B today, but they were all out. You might want to use the serious tag for this one. I started off trying to wake up my roommates to no avail. Then, in extreme denial, I walked outside my home to see if everyone else was hysterically preparing for a disaster. There were crowds of people running to their cars from the beach. The freeway was completely blocked. And yet there were also elderly people who didn't get a notification, just watering their lawn as if nothing was happening. After the 5-minute outside, which felt like an hour, I walked back in to see my roommates awake, switching through channels and seeing a banner on every channel that warned us to seek shelter, stay to the floor, and away from windows. Then I received a frantic call from my mom, from California, in tears saying how much she loved me, then calling my dad and 2 sisters saying it could be the last time they might talk to me. My sister, 12, felt so rushed and said she loved me but didn't know what else to say. I could hear my other sister, 6, say how could Ryan be dying? There's no way. At this point my biggest fear was no longer dying. It was the thought of my family I'm leaving behind. I told them how I live in an area with low population and away from military bases and I should be fine with my water and food reserves. Mid-call I receive an incoming call from my uncle who lives on island. I figured he had important news that was relevant, so I told my family I had to hang up. He told me it was a false alarm. I proceeded to tell everyone else. And that concluded my most stressful 30 minutes ever. I texted my mother, I need to tell you I love you. In case everything goes wrong, please. Please tell everyone I love them and I've had a wonderful life. I'm very happy. She called me in a panic and I told her I loved her. She asked me if I was going to leave and I told her I was going to stay with my husband no matter what. I ended the call because I didn't want her to hear me die if it did happen. Then I kissed my husband and we held each other on the couch. It was a good day. I was in the living room changing my 2-month-old son's diaper. My wife was in the bedroom sleeping in. I hear the alarm go off on my phone a couple feet away and just think, oh, it's just one of those Amber Alerts, and go back to changing his diaper. Second later my wife comes running out of the bedroom screaming that we were going to die. I kind of froze up. All I could think was how helpless I felt and how I couldn't do anything to save my newborn son. My wife was running around the house grabbing diapers and formula for the baby, and I was just slowly finishing changing his diaper because I just couldn't imagine that something like this could happen. After about 2-3 minutes I sort of snapped back to reality and focused only on getting my son and wife to some sort of safety. I live in a relatively small beach house with very thin walls, so I knew it wouldn't do anything, but I told my wife we would be safest in the bathroom in the middle of our house. It really wasn't an impulse decision, but throughout the whole thing I didn't think to even call or text any of my family on the mainland. If you had asked me what I would do if put in this situation, I would say I would call my parents and tell them I love them, but I didn't even think of that. I just thought about how much I love my wife and son and how sad I was that I wouldn't be able to see who he would become when he grows up. This has really given me a completely different perspective on life and makes me sad that I didn't even think to say goodbye to my family back home. TLDR. I didn't think to call anyone back home and could only think about my wife and newborn son. My best friend is vacationing there. She crawled into bed with her 3 and 5-year-old daughters and held them while accepting that they were going to die. Her husband called from a fishing boat trip to say he loved them and wished he was with them. I bet there's at least a couple of survivalists who went into their bunkers and won't come up for 40 years. I told my GF not to worry about it and go back to sleep. Her mom called her not even a minute later crying, telling her to wake up and that she was rushing home now. She thought I wasn't scared, but if it were real we wouldn't be able to do anything about it, so I just wanted her to be in my arms for our last moments. Cleared out the fridge and hid in it for 6 hours. Got the alert with 2% battery, so had no idea it was fake. Bought a ticket to California and still went nail through a copyright hearing. Currently in Kailua on the island of Oahu. When my wife and I got the message, we were in bed. She asked me to make scrambled eggs with sausage, toast, and avocado. So I went downstairs and made breakfast as fast and best I could. Gave my pup some too cause he is going to dine like a king if it's really his last meal. After the false alarm, we made an appointment at an ultrasound office to see our unborn daughter. Life is precious. Please add serious tag. I'm really interested in what people have to say. I was downvoted to hell in both our news and our politics for assuming it was North Korea who fired the ballistic missile. Serious question to those in here. What other country on this earth would have had the audacity other than North Korea to do this? I regret telling our children what we thought was happening. My oldest child is 7. We explained it very simply with as little detail as we could but duck. We told him a bomb was on the way from North Korea. We told him about the missile defense systems and that all we could do was hope that they worked. We took away a lot of his innocence and he's really shook up still. Afterwards we told him about Mattis and how he's so smart and helps run the military to keep us safe. We couldn't think of anything comforting to say about the president, so my husband told him cool stories he's read about Mattis. My younger child is autistic and was just mad that the plans changed again. He was annoyed that the missile didn't come and didn't understand that the message was a mistake. He felt better when we went back to our original plan to hit the beach. Had an impulse panic attack. 195/100 wouldn't recommend. Went to the Winchester to have a pint. My wife and I had just sat down to eat at Cafe 100 in Hilo on the Big Island when we all got the alert. I don't know if it's because we're both first responders or what, but we just continued eating while trying to check the internet to see if it was real. I know it said not a drill, but it was just so. I dunno, surreal? The owner sent his employees home and sat with us. I remember thinking that this is an island. There's no place to go. And I already paid for this meal, damn it. I got on the emergency services scanner for the island and heard someone confirm it wasn't real. about 15 minutes before the actual alert went to everyone. So that was good. I'm just pissed that the first place a government went to confirm it was false was ducking Twitter. We had next to no internet connection because everyone was jamming the signal. And Twitter is terrible anyway. Why not send an all clear on the phone's ASAP? Nothing. Since I found out about it after the alarm was confirmed to be false. And then I started laughing. Because intentionally or otherwise, someone effectively trolled an entire state. I swallowed a bunch of popcorn seeds lol. I thought it would be hella funny if people found a bunch of popcorn around my burnt ass body. My first thought was of the excellent surfing with my 10-year-old the day before. Enjoyed some great paragliding too. I'm on the island of Hawaii. Normally, we're not even up or downwind of Oahu. So, I went back to sleep. When I woke up, we were all sharing funny pictures. Only sorry didn't have a girlfriend nearby. What a great close. Yeah? Started downloading torrents without a VPN. Duck it, I lived a little. Well, I don't live in Hawaii, but as someone who's planned for some of this stuff, I'd caution against just resigning yourself to die. Depending on a lot of different factors, you could easily survive. A woman survived Hiroshima 300 meters from the epicenter of the blast because she was in a sturdy building. The man sitting on the steps outside became a shadow on the pavement. The typical yield you can expect to hit a counter-value target like a city is below 1 megaton. Probably closer to the range of 150 to 300 kilotons. If you don't live downtown, the likely center of target, and are at least 2 miles from the epicenter, then you stand at least a 50% chance of surviving. Which goes up exponentially if you take even basic steps to survive, like hiding in a windowless room. There are so many different factors to consider. Is the weapon set for ground detonation or airburst? If airburst, what altitude? What direction is the wind blowing? Fission versus fusion ratio, local geography, and proximity, and so many others. Point is, don't give up. You can make it. I don't live in Hawaii, however if it was a real missile I knew we were all screwed. I spent my time online trying to figure out what the duck was going on. I wasn't even thinking of the possibility I was going to die really. I just had to know if it was real or fake. My grandma told us she bought MREs on Amazon when she got the alert. We had to actually explain to her how that wouldn't have helped. I wonder how many weddings were cancelled. This is just going to be full of bullet. It was 8:07 AM. I was sitting in my hotel room in Waikiki browsing Reddit. Saw the alert and immediately turned on the news and started going to Twitter. I didn't hear any sirens. No news. It was eerie enough to question. I went outside my door, saw people yelling and people calling loved ones. I was glad I stayed calm, but hotel staff was running out of the building. The lobby was at its show for about 20 minutes. From my point of view, the locals seemed scared. It was their home and livelihood. I was on an island 2,395 miles away from home, so if I was gonna die at least there was nice weather. My friend who goes to college on the island said campus was an absolute shit show. I was at a laundromat and my wife called me all panicked after receiving alert on her iPhone. I told her that it was probably a mistake because I didn't receive it on my Samsung phone and it must be a technical glitch or something. Also, it seemed like there should have been sirens, emergency news broadcasts, and a full-on national military notice rather than just a notice to iOS users. In hindsight, I was right and seemed like Joe Cool, but I now feel like I should have reacted more and taken it seriously. I don't want the last moments of my life to be me saying it's probably nothing. I was a dismissive arsehole to my wife who was genuinely effing terrified, and I regret that. Put my kids down a stormwater drain. Left them there. No regrets.